The only thing we have to talk about is the distortion. Hey, my name is Thomas and look what I've got for you today. It's the 7Artisans 24mm f1.8 autofocus lens, which is available for Sony FE mount, for Nikon Z and for the L mount. And it retails for about €349 or 299 UK pounds. So it's sort of a budget option for a really fast wide angle lens for full frame. Super, super interesting. So I'm very, very thrilled. Again, let's have a go. So maybe you've already noticed I'm shooting this today on the old Sony A7, which is the very first ever full-frame camera made by Sony with the FE mount. And there's a lot of reasons why I love shooting this old camera, but that's a topic for another video. But what's important for this video is that even with this old camera, the autofocus of the 7Artisans 24 works super smoothly, precisely. It doesn't feel slow or anything. It's really even good in tracking compared to what the camera can do, basically. So that's a good sign. It shows that the 7Artisans lenses apparently work with a lot of the various cameras and that their software and firmware is really up to date. And that's a very good sign. In your hand, the first thing you notice, it's a pretty large lens, which is normal for modern wide-angle lenses, especially the fast ones. So it seems like 7Artisans is going the same route as Sony and all the OEM manufacturers. They put quality over size. It comes with a lens hood that's very good, and of course a standard lens cap. And you've got a very well-feeling damped focus ring. It's focused by wire, which is standard these days. It's got an aperture ring, which is very nice. By the way, it's clickless. It's good for video. I don't like it for photography so much. The only click is when you go to the A setting, then it has a click, but actually it's not a very noticeable click. So this could be a little bit more, secure, so to say. Here we've got the FN button that you can program yourself in the camera's menu, and we've got AF/MS switch. 7Artisans learned that these switches should be in this direction, not in this direction, so you don't accidentally switch them when you're moving the lens. So this is also very good. So everything is very, very nice. And this is the FE mount version for Sony. Of course, a standard mount with a USB for maybe firmware updates. Let's see how that's going to work. So all the details of a modern, pretty high quality lens are included here. So all in all, I really love the finish of this lens. The size, if the quality is also good, then the size is actually not too bad. The one single thing you have to keep in mind is still is a budget lens, so it does not have weather sealing. That's the one feature missing. But apart from that, I don't see anything. Maybe a clicked aperture ring would also be nice for photographers. But apart from that, there's really nothing to criticize. Very well done by 7Artisans. Sharpness, very, very good. The center of the frame is always super sharp, even at open apertures, and yes, also on more high-res cameras than this old Sony A7. We checked it on different Sony cameras. Sharpness is very good, and in the corners of your frame, you maybe want to stop down to like f4 or maximum 5.6, and then you've got superb sharpness also for landscape and architecture shots. That's actually sharper than I thought it would be, given that this is one of the first of the 7Artisan autofocus lenses, and making a super wide lens very sharp is always, it's not that simple, you know. So there is nothing to dislike about sharpness. Contrast and colors, everything is very nice. The only thing we have to talk about is the distortion. So if there's one thing I would really criticize about this lens, that's the distortion. You see, the problem is not that it distorts at all, that most lenses do that if they're wide angle, but this one has this very moustache style distortion, and especially in the four corners of your frame, straight lines look really, really weird. And there is one thing how you can fix it, and that is that you download from 7Artisans. They offer profiles that you can use, for example, in Lightroom Classic. That's what I'm doing here, and I'm going to show you an example. But if you're shooting JPEG out of cam, or you're not using Lightroom, or for your software there's no profile available, then you are stuck with this distortion. There's not a lot you can do about it. So this can be even a deal breaker, but you have to think what you're doing with this lens. If you need it for architecture, then it might matter. If you're shooting landscapes, of course, distortion is not a problem. Yeah, you have to find out for yourself. But this is the one thing that really isn't good about this lens. There is more things to image quality than just sharpness and distortion. For example, the bokeh, and that's a bit two-folded. So if you're pretty close to your subject, this lens can do amazing smooth background blur that looks fantastic. If, of course, the distance to your subject is pretty high, then the bokeh can also look a little bit distracting. But I think that's normal for 24mm super wide angle lenses. So overall, I really love the bokeh of this lens. Very good. And then there is the sunstars. That's got an 11-bladed aperture that makes for 22-pointed sunstars. I'm normally not a fan of all these super high-pointed sunstars, but they do look good at f5.6, and especially f8, you already get beautiful sunstars in your night shots. So again, there is a lot to like about this lens. Close focus distance of this lens is 32 centimeters, and as always is from the sensor plane, so from here 32 centimeters, something like here. It's not ultimately fantastic because it's a super wide lens. Maybe sometimes you would love to go even closer to your subject because the subject is going to be small because it's a wide angle. But yeah, still you can get fairly close. I'm going to show you some pictures from here, and then you can see what you can do at minimum focus distance. Regarding ghost lights and flares and stuff like that, this lens does perform, yeah, I would say average. But on the other hand, I'm not a photographer who minds that so much, because sometimes flares and ghost light can even look nice in a shot. And otherwise, you can also often just recompose very, very slightly, and then you don't have an issue anymore. I wouldn't say that this lens performs perfect in this regard, but on the other hand, it's also not worse than other lenses. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with that. Time for the verdict. As you can maybe already tell, I overall pretty much like this lens. I like it for its sharpness, for its beautiful colors and contrast, for a pretty nice bokeh for what it is. I like the price. I don't think it's too large. It's not a compact lens, but yeah, 24 f1.8 has to be large. And also, I do like 24mm lenses in general. They're pretty versatile. They are borderline super wide angle. But you can also do pretty interesting portrait shots with them, environmental portraits, so to say. Just keep in mind that you don't want to distort heads too much. The one thing I really don't like is the distortion. I told about it. You can work around it if you're working in Lightroom, because 7Artisans, they do have a profile to correct distortion, and it works pretty well. But if you don't want to use Lightroom or any other software where they offer a correction profile for, then you're out of luck. Keep that in mind. It's maybe not for architecture shooters. The price is very nice. That's a good, again, doesn't have the weather sealing, but I think at this price point you can work with that as well. And as I said before, I shot this on a very budget old Sony A7, and it works as well. So overall, I think 7Artisans did a very good job here, and it's one of these budget-oriented but still super, super high-quality lenses, which are very, very welcome these days. So, highly recommended. So that's it for today. I hope you found this interesting, maybe even useful. If you did so, then please leave a like and also consider subscribing to my channel. That's a really, really great support. And hit the small bell button. In case you've got any questions or comments, just write something in the comment section below. You know I love to read all your comments, and I will happily answer every single one of them. So have a great time, live long and prosper, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.